Today, we're talking about terminated participants inside of 401k plans. And you're probably thinking, goodness gracious, that sounds like the most boring topic ever. But I promise you, it might be boring, but it's really, really important when it comes to plan sponsors and participants who have money inside of 401k plans. My name is Grant Ellis. I'm the founder and owner of Ellis Retirement. We help 401k plan sponsors and participants all across the country with their retirement plans and benefit plans. Terminated participants, let's talk about it because we've been seeing this quite a bit lately. What happens is that you have a 401k plan and the company that offers it has a great plan in place, and then employees leave, as they do sometimes. And many times the employee is not aware of their options or what they can do with their money. So they leave it in the plan. So there's money in the plan, but the employee has left. That person is now called a terminated participant, and they have a benefit due for them. Well, listen, the rule says that they do not have to take that money out. So if they don't have to take it out, why does it matter at all? Well, there's a few reasons, some that affect the plan sponsor or the company, and some that affect the participant. Let's talk about the participant for just a minute. They have money in a 401k, they don't want to move it. Why does it matter? First and foremost, in my experience of doing this for over 21 years, I find that most employees, when they leave, have no idea what their options are. They don't know that they can leave it in the plan. They don't know that they can move it to an IRA. They don't know they can take it in cash, although they'll pay taxes and penalties on that. They don't know that they can roll it to their new employer. They just don't know because they haven't been told what their options are or explained the pros and cons of each. So by default, a lot of times people leave their money, their 401k balances in their old plan. If they know their options and they decide they want to leave it where it is, great, we're good with that. But if they don't know their options and they leave that money there by default, that's not usually a good thing. There's a few things that can lead to. First and foremost, it can lead to them not having their money where they want it to be and having a good plan in place for that money. They might have access to better investment options, a more strategic plan, a more specific plan. Whatever the case may be, they need to understand, based on their current situation, what their options are. That's number one. But the second reason is, and this happens all the time. Let me give you an example. Somebody comes to us and they're 65 years old and they say, hey, Grant and team, I am ready to retire and I'd like to move all my assets into an IRA so that I can begin my retirement income plan. Remember, that's what we're really solving for, is retirement income. And we say, hey, sounds great. Bring statements of what you have, and we're going to look at all of your accounts. And we're going to aggregate it and review it and start that process. And they say, yeah, I'd love to do that. Here's the problem, is I've had 7 or 8 jobs, and I've had 7 or 8 different 401ks, and I left those where they are because you don't have to move them. But now I don't know where they are or who holds the money or how to get it. Ugh, that's a big problem. Why is that a big problem? Well, here's what the participant or the employee, the former employee, is usually thinking. They're thinking, okay, I've got this 401k money. It's my money forever. It's some of the most protected money that's out there, and that is true. But they also think that somebody is going to help them find it. That's not true. Now, we are working towards that in the industry. I think it's unfortunate. We have over $1 trillion of lost 401k money. So this is one of the main reasons we encourage employees when we're talking to them to keep all of their assets together, keep all of their accounts in one spot so they know where it is. If for no other reason, then we don't want them to lose it, because tracking down old 401ks can be a very difficult thing to do. Nobody is there to say, oh yeah, let me tell you where everything is at. You have to go back and figure it out. So you're either trying to think of where the money is being held, and think about financial institutions. They change hands, they change names, they're owned by different people. All of that stuff changes. A lot of those companies might not even exist anymore. And if they do, it could be in a different spot because of a transition. Well, you have to figure that out. So you have to go down this detective route as an employee or a former employee, trying to figure out where your money's at. And believe me, there are plenty of times, as evidenced by the $1 trillion of lost 401k money, that people are not able to find it. And that is one of the most unfortunate things that we see. The other is that even if they know where they used to work, there's not always a contact there that can help them. And think about the fact that that company might also have gotten sold, or it might have shut down, or it might have changed hands. So the money is protected, but it's your responsibility as the former employee to find it. So if no other reason than to keep everything organized and in one place, we always encourage people to keep their money where they are. Now, listen, again, there are circumstances where that's not a good option. Let's say that they went to a job and they don't have a 401k there, or they are staying at home to take care of the kids, or they're taking a work break, whatever. There are definitely reasons where somebody might want to leave their money at their old employer. But again, we just don't want it to be the default reason because they don't know that other reasons exist. Because down the line, when they retire and they come to us, we don't want them having 3 or 4 or 5 401k IRA plans that they don't have access to because they can't find it. So from a participant perspective, that's one of the main reasons that we encourage them to review their options. We want to make sure we explain it to them and then let them choose. And if that's to leave it in the 401k plan, good deal. So be it. We're good with that. But why does it matter to the employer? Well, there's a couple of different reasons. One of the easiest reasons to understand is what's called fiduciary liability, right? If you offer a 401k to your employees, any account under that 401k plan, you have fiduciary authority and liability on. That just means a legal requirement to do what's in the best interest of that employee. Basically, that person, even though they don't work for you, is still on your books in regards to the 401k. And so they have to be considered in all the decisions that you make for the entire plan and for plan participants. They also have to receive all of the communications. That in and of itself might be a reason to try to get people to move their money if they want to. Remember, they don't have to, if they want to, because every time there's an investment change, every time there's a material change to the plan, every time there's an annual notice, all of that has to be communicated not only to the current list of employees, but to anyone who has a balance in the plan. So, for instance, we have a client recently who had 79 former employees with a balance. So if nothing else, they've got 79 people, but they are required by law to send out all of these notices. And if you've worked on a 401k plan before, you know that we like our notices. They seem to come out every other day. And I'm being facetious, obviously, but there's a heavy paperwork burden. And yes, if you have all of the employees' email addresses, you can email them those notices. But think about all the former employees. You might not have their email address. You might not have their personal email address. And if you don't have a verified email address, guess what? You got to mail it. You got to go to the post office and you got to stuff an envelope and you got to get a stamp and you got to stick these documents that they're never going to read into this envelope. And then you got to mail it off to them. And it can be a huge pain simply from an administrative perspective. So just to keep everything smooth and streamlined, you want to encourage people, if they want to take their money out. But what are some other reasons a plan sponsor might want to do that? Another reason is costing. Your plan often is priced according to the number of participants you have and the assets inside of the plan. So this can work in your favor or against it depending on how your plan is set up. For instance, let's say that you have a per participant fee attached to the pricing of the 401k plan. Well, the more participants that you have, the more of those fees that are being incurred because of that simple structure. So another not huge reason, but something to consider of like, listen, we don't want a bunch of participant fees being charged based on participants that no longer work at our company. Let's try to encourage them to move the money out. And therefore, we don't have those participant charges anymore. But there's one other thing that often plan sponsors don't think about, and that is the audit requirement. So a lot of people know if you have a 401k plan, you offer it to your employees, and you cross this initial threshold of having 120 people in your plan. We're going to define that in more detail in just a second. But 120 is the number to remember for the first time. At the end of the prior year, you are going to be subject to an audit. And everybody loves an audit. And listen, the word audit scares people. It's not near as bad as you might think. It's not as bad as it used to be in my experience. It's a few days of a lot of information and headache. But the biggest driver also is it's not super cheap. It can vary. It can be between $12,000 and $15,000 every single year. And just the pain and the administrative burden of having to deal with an IRS audit. Nobody wants an audit of any kind if they don't have to have an audit. So why is this affected by former participants with a balance? Well, the audit rules changed. It used to be that 120 person life limit was defined based on eligible participants, but that changed recently. And now it is defined by the number of participants with an account balance. Such a different thing. And again, this is something that can work for you or even against you. So for the client I was talking about before, they had 79 former participants with a balance, and they were subject to an audit. Think about this. They only had 100 total employees. So the 79 put together with the 100 active employees made 179 participants with a balance. Therefore, they have to get an audit now. They don't love that. I promise you, nobody loves to be told that they have to get an audit. So what we can do is try to work with them to get as many of those people out of the plan as possible in a legal way by providing them their options. and potentially get them out of an audit in the future. Because if a certain number of those people move their money elsewhere and all of a sudden the threshold goes down below that 120, they would not have been subject to the audit. And I promise you that would make them happy. So another big reason is to think about the audit, that you're driving up your employee count by whatever number of people that you have with an account balance, including anyone who does not work there. And because of how much communication is going out these days for 401k plans, all of the different confusion around all the options, it's so complex, there's so many rules, it's hard to move your money. That all contributes to why people aren't moving their money. And it's nothing you did right or wrong, it's just people are confused. They're uncertain about their options. They don't know where to go. They're at Google, they're Chat GPT, all the things. And they're like, listen, I don't know what to do. And it makes me nervous moving money anyway. So I'm just going to leave it where it's at. So let's say, though, that you want to take care of this. You're like, listen, so I got 80 people in my plan that have a balance and they don't work here anymore. What can we do? I'll give you what we do. I can't speak to anybody else's process, but I'll talk to you about what we call Terminated Participant Campaign. It's exactly what it says. And a lot of this goes back to thinking about communication as psychology. Here's what I mean. You can communicate with former participants about the options that they have. The best time to do that is in their exit interview or as they are leaving the company. So when we work with participants at 401k plans that are clients of ours, we always tell them, anything happens, you call us. If you're leaving the company, if you're getting married, if you're getting divorced, if whatever the case may be, call us and tell us so that we can walk you through your options. That's the most ideal way to handle it, is the timing of it is while they're leaving employment. And if you do an exit interview, that's also a good spot to say, hey, we want to make sure you understand your options. But let's say that's not available. So then we do what's called a campaign. And all this means is we're going to communicate options with those people. So for us, we download all the former participants with account balances. Almost always we're going to have access, because of the data integration, to either an email address or an address. And honestly, I'm pretty partial to a mailer campaign. It sounds crazy. And I promise you, I'm not 175 years old, but right now people get so many communications digitally, they don't read any of them. But who gets mail, right? Think about that. Who gets mail that they actually open and look at? And I'm not saying they're going to open this, but I think they do. We try to track the metrics, and we show that a lot of people do open this and actually read it because it's different, right? It's not a coupon from the grocery store. It's not an ad. It's not any of that stuff. And it's not a digital communication that's one of the 500 emails that everybody receives on a daily basis. So here's how we approach it. Here's the most important piece of this communication plan campaign, that I tell people. It's how you say it is as important as what you say. How you say it is as important as what you say. And here's what I mean by that. We have option A. We're going to send them a communication. We're going to send them a draft notice. It's going to be on one page. It's going to be black and white, and it's going to have all of the necessary legal disclosures and options that are available to them. Dear sir or madam, we want to tell you that you have assets in the 401k plan, and here are your options according to IRS code, blah, 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 blah. All they hear is that. All they hear is blah, 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 because it looks like something else. It kind of looks like junk. And honestly, it's just really boring. So what we do is try to spice it up a little bit. We want to make it a positive experience. How you say it is as important as what you say. So number one, we want to use really colorful, good-looking letterhead and paper. That paper that you feel that you're like, ooh, that feels luxury. That feels like carpet in paper form. Everybody knows it. Everybody put their resume on it if they were old enough to have a resume that they put in print. I'm dating myself for sure. But use nice paper, use color printing, right? So if we put it on us and they want to brand it with our company, which we will, and I'll explain why we do that, we're going to use all the different colors and branding and make it look visually appealing. Remember, this person doesn't work in finance. I mean, they might, but you know what I mean. Their job is not to look through legal disclosures and finance terms and all of that. So we want to make it something they're going to open and look at. And when they open it and look at it, it's like, ooh, look at that. That looks good. I want to read that. So ridiculous, but it does work. And then we explain it in layman's terms. So we have to tell them all their options, right? We are required by law to say you can leave it in the plan. You can move it to an IRA or another qualified plan, such as a 401k or a 403b. You can take it out in cash. We got to let them know that they're going to pay taxes and penalties on that. Those are the main options that they have. We just do it in an encouraging, exciting way that they can understand. So we just literally try to say, hey, guess what? We've got great news. You've got money in your old 401k. You might not know you do. There are plenty of people who don't know that they do. And you have options with what you can do with it. This is an awesome thing. Who doesn't like to be told that they have money that they're not doing anything with? Everybody wants to hear that. So we make it exciting. We're excited to let you know you've got money and you've got options. And we want you to understand what your options are. And so we're going to explain them to you in very simple terms. And we also, and here's the key to all of this at the very end, we also want to give you a place to go should you have questions. So this is one of the main reasons why at least our clients have this, put this on our branding, on our letterhead. And I say letterhead with a grain of salt because we want it to look visually appealing. It's because at the end we say, listen, we know this stuff can be confusing. It doesn't have to be, and we're here to help you. So if you have questions or you want to talk through these options and ask questions about anything, here's our phone number, here's our email address, here's our scheduling link. Feel free to set up a time or call us or email us, and we will walk you through everything. And we will actually help you with the documents and help you with the phone call if it's necessary to help you move that money elsewhere. That's the kicker, right? Because if you just tell people what their options are, they still look at it and go, well, what do I do now? Do I call somebody? Do I email somebody? And that's scary. What if I tell them the wrong thing? You have to remember, for a lot of people, this money could disappear. If they try to move it, they think in their minds it could disappear. Now, we know doing this all the time that's highly, highly unlikely, but they don't know that. So imagine if you have a few $100,000 sitting around in old 401ks and you're thinking like, listen, it could disappear into the ether if I do anything with this. I wouldn't move it either. But by having somebody that they can talk to and ask those questions, we can say, let's explain how this works once you've decided what your option is. And then we're going to hold your hand and walk you through that process. So if there's paperwork, we're going to pre-fill it for you and make sure it's signature ready. And then once it's done, we're going to process it and send it in for you. If you've got to call an old provider, we're going to call with you and talk to them because nobody likes calling an 800 number and talking to a call center in a different country, right? It's also the reason why we don't give an 800 number. We could easily say, here's the 800 number. Have fun calling. It's going to be great. We don't do that. We just believe we've got to take it a step further because we know why people aren't taking action. It's because they're confused, they're uneducated, they're unaware, they're hesitant, whatever the case may be. And I don't mean any of that negatively. It is not their fault. If anything, it's our fault as an industry of, number one, making this stuff too complex, but number two, not explaining these things to them as we go. So we want to bridge that gap. So that's a great way to do it. We track the numbers. We've had great response from people saying, listen, this is the first time anybody has ever told me what any of this stuff means or explained to me how it works and especially helped work through it with me. And we have a lot of success with getting people to move money where they want it to be. Again, it's their choice. So just as a recap, Terminated participants seems like a small thing, can be a small thing, can also be a big thing. We recommend that every company or plan sponsor looks through this at least annually. Thankfully, that data is all there in the record-keeping platform. Have your advisor do their job. Have them pull a list of the terminated participants and see how many there are. See what contact information you have. If possible, when people leave, get a forwarding address, get a personal email, and tell them we might have communications for you in the future, and we want to make sure we know how to get these to you. But from a participant perspective, it matters. We don't want them losing the account. We want them knowing their options. We want them to have their money where they want to have their money, even if that's leaving it in the plan. From the plan sponsor perspective, there's liability issues, there's costing issues, and there's potential audit triggering issues based on former participants that are still inside of the plan. So I told you there's going to be a lot more to this than you thought. Terminated participants inside of 401k plans, it matters. It can be complex, but it doesn't have to be. And the more intentionality you put around the process, the more success you're going to have with getting people to put their money where they want it. And that's the goal, to help as many people as possible prepare for the retirement that they want. That's what we do at Ellis Retirement Advisors. We help plan sponsors and we help participants prepare for, enter, and live in retirement. So, got any questions? You want to schedule a time to talk with me? You want to connect? There's a link below. You're more than welcome to do so. But either way, I hope this was helpful to you. And if you have any topics you want to hear about, shoot those to me as well. And I will talk to you next time.